Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to another Zombicide Invader unboxing. These are for the Kickstarter exclusive Survivor packs. Although you can pick them up probably secondhand retail. That's why we're going over them so you can see what's in them, see if it's worth it for you. So I'm going to do all three in the same video just because, I mean, there's a lot. It's going to be a little bit longer video, but that way just they're all together. But we have the Plague Gang survivors. We will go over the Orphan Gang survivors, and then finally the Kabuki Gang survivors. What is really fun about each one of these groups is because there's a lot more civilians, which really helps to make up for the base game Invader had 3 civilians and then 3 soldiers. So kind of, here's this neat type of soldier that can only do certain areas, and then civilians can go anywhere. Then if you bought the other 2 big boxes, Darkside and Black Ops, they only had groups of soldiers. Darkside had the green squad, Black Ops had the black squad. So you got another group of guys that kind of work together, but they're all soldiers. So these guys give you a lot more different options for civilian survivors. And then kind of like both of the soldier groups, each started with double equipment. They came in prepared. Each of these gangs get their own special rules. So the Plague Gang, and there's a bunch of information about them. Plague Gang members, which will have the little red cross type symbol, X symbol, may perform search actions in any type of zone. Not only rooms, so that includes exterior, mold, and pit zones. So even including one of these guys in your team could really benefit finding items a lot quicker. So we're just going to go ahead and jump in and start looking at these guys. We're going to start off with Carmen here. And we'll go over all the abilities. So we have +1 die roll for ranged. Definitely not bad at all to start out with. Make all your dice, your range attacks a little bit more accurate. Of course, yellow is always 1 free action. And then in orange, we have +1 die for ranged or sniper. So either give yourself an additional die, or you can use sniper, which will say, if freely choose the targets of all the ranged attacks and friendly fire is ignored. So if you just find yourself off on your own, I'd probably pick the 1 die for ranged. But if you find yourself shooting towards your teammates a lot, or you have certain threats that are becoming more of a hazard, you could go sniper, and then you could choose to pick off these smaller guys before the bigger guys if you needed to. And then going back into red, we have +1 die for ranged, point blank, and Reaper ranged. So this is like fully ranged character here, obviously. An extra die could definitely be super helpful. Rolling 2 extra dice plus having a +1 to that roll means you're going to hit all the time and do a bunch of damage. Point blank will let you perform ranged attacks in their own zone no matter the minimum range. So basically it treats your ranged attacks like melee. You can be in the same zone as Xenos. You can choose who you target. You don't have to hit friendly fire. So I've been kind of combining that with sniper might even be very probable. You can be shooting at a distance towards your allies. If they have to fall back to you, then you can always go ahead and just attack with your gun anyhow. So give yourself a really powerful weapon. And then Reaper ranged says when assigning hits resolving an action of specified type, one of these can freely eliminate an additional identical Xeno in the same zone. Only a single one can be eliminated. And you gain experience for it. So what that means, if you take out 4 workers, you get a 5th one for free. You take out 2 hunters, you get an additional hunter. You get some weird coincidence, you take out 1 spore zombie, you can take out a second one if he happens to be in the same area. The chances you have 2 abominations of the same exact type in the same area, not very well, but it can help for some of them smaller guys that cluster together. So again, can be very helpful depending on what you're facing. So it gives you some good options at the end. Let's zoom in and look at Carmen's miniature here a little bit better if it wants to focus for me. So this has got like a chainsaw bladed like gun. It's kind of interesting, or if those are maybe bullets, maybe a bullet casing on the front, I'm not really sure. Probably looks like that's there's like bullets going on. Maybe it's like a specialized bullet thing. But yeah, all these guys they're the plague gangs. They're guys that have, like where we're sending all the soldiers who have all this extra armor and gear and stuff. These guys are like, nah, we just figure out how to survive on our own. And so that's why they can play around in the mold and stuff like that. Alright, up next we have Sydney. Sydney there is carrying some sort of like little hand club. So Sydney starts with Charge. Charge will let you use a skill once for free during your turn to move 2 zones to a zone containing a Xeno. So it's an extra free movement, but you have to move into a space with a Xeno. But that Xeno could be very helpful if you're trying to just get in there very quickly. In Orange, we have 1 free melee action, and Shove. So extra free melee will help if you're getting in there. Or Shove is not bad either, because you can push guys away. So you can use the Charge to get in close, and then use Shove if you didn't defeat all of them, to then push them back away. So you don't have to worry about taking extra damage. And then you also use like, maybe a third action to run if you needed to. In Red, we have 1 free combat action, Hit and Run, and Predator. So free combat action will give them option an additional melee, or if they need to, fall back into range. Hit and Run, as long as the survivor has resolved a melee or ranged action, at least 1 Xeno is eliminated, they resolve a free move action. So, yeah, you can do some really fun stuff there. Charging, defeat something, he can hit and run out to another area. He can even run to an area with another set of zombies and shove them. Basically, he has lots of abilities to move around. And then the last one is Predator. It says when resolving a melee action, survivor may substitute the dice number of the melee weapon they use with the number of Xenos standing in their zone. So that means if like he has a weapon that only has 2 dice, but there's 4 Xenos in the zone he's in, he can now use 4 dice instead. So this again works really well with some of these other abilities. But yeah, he's basically just going to get up and do what he needs to do. And there he is. He's got a little medical bag. He's got this shovel claw thing, which is very interesting. I wish I had like a better artwork picture of that. Alright, our third plague survivor. This guy definitely looks cool. He's got the like bird death mask. Pat. Alright, so Pat here has Xenolink, which says whenever survivors playing extra turn each time an extra activation card, not the abomination ones, are drawn from their Xeno pile, and they play before the other characters. So, although I like this ability, I always don't, I'm torn on it being the first ability, because until you draw that extra activation, that means they have 1 less skill than everybody else has. But then again, if you have it like in your red, you might have already drawn like your extra activations before you even access it, which might make it useless as well. So it's a little give or take. But it's a fun thing to be able to have, that all of a sudden now you can stand like 1 space away from all the Xenos because you don't have to worry about them getting close to you. But if they draw that extra activation, you get that free move or free elimination or doing something first. Close the door before they can get into you. Things like that. Then he also has ambidextrous and Reaper combat. So we saw Reaper in the last character. But I think it's specified. Did he specify? The first one? Reaper range. She can only hurt for range. He can use his Reaper ability for either ranged or melee, which makes him a better Swiss Army type character. And ambidextrous treats all weapons as if they had dual wield, so he can grab 2 of the same type of any weapon. And use them in both hands and get the double dice, which is really also helpful for these characters since they can search anywhere. They can be running back through the spore zone, the mold, or they can be running through the exterior. If they stop in the exterior outside, in between buildings, they can start searching. They might find more weapons that way, so you might have a better chance of finding 2 of the same weapons. In red, he has 1 guy for combat, dual expert, and ironclad abomination. Ironclad Abomination is somewhat ridiculous. So Ironclad says, Survivor ignores all damage from coming Xenos that have the indicated keyword in their name. So he will not take any damage from abominations. So his goal is to focus on probably getting up close and taking care of all the rest of them, and just letting that big guy swat at him all he wants, and maybe become like a target for that guy. Or if they spawn separately, maybe draw their attention away, knowing that he can't take damage from them. But again, that'll depend. Maybe if you have multiple abominations on the field at this time, you might want to select one of them. Then he has Dual Expert as well. Survivor has a free combat action as long as you have dual weapons equipped, and may only be used with dual weapons. So if he's using ambidextrous, he can have Dual Expert a lot more often. But if for some reason you didn't choose ambidextrous, or you just don't have the two weapons, you can always definitely skip that for one of the other two. But that can definitely make him a powerful guy to fight, where he gets some additional free action with two weapons. Just having two weapons means you roll both dice. So if you have a sword that normally rolls 2 dice, now you get to roll 4 dice. They normally would do 2 damage, now you get to do 4 damage. But instead of having to spend 2 actions on it, you can spend 1. Alright. So then we go to our next survivor. We have Feng, and we'll just look at his miniature as long as we're up close. So, of course, you can see he looks like he's probably another ranged character. He's got a big giant sniper looking rifle. Plus he's got maybe a shotgun on the back. The other guy's wearing a full mask. Yep, so right after that he gets sniper, so he can go ahead and pick his targets. And not have to friendly fire. Then in orange he has 1 free ranged or camouflage. Ooh, we haven't seen camouflage very often in this game. So camouflage says survivor may earn a camouflage token, which comes in the base games. If no Xeno has a line of sight on them, place this token next to their base. Survivor may keep the token from game round to game round until they resolve any type of combat or machine action or make a noise. It may be earned again the same way. As long as they have this token, the survivor is ignored by all Xenos and not considered to be a nice token. Xenos don't attack them and will even move past them. Even with the camouflage token, the survivor still has to spend extra actions to move out of a crowded zone. So what this basically means is you can sit there and snipe your characters, do stuff. Then you can throw camouflage on. Now, as long as you don't attack or use a machine or break down a door or something like that, he can move around to where he needs to do, so he can reposition himself to be able to snipe again. Or for some reason he's sniping, then a giant group comes around the corner and you can't take care of him, he can hide quick. So that's kind of cool. And then he has in red 1 guide combat, 1 free move action, or 1 free dice roll for range. So the free move would work well like the camouflage, let you maybe get out of sight quicker, so you can then use the camouflage. Or if you're already camouflaged, get through guys quicker. Just again, if you enter a zone with Xenos, you have to stop, and you have to spend extra amounts, so you almost have to wait for them to then move by you. Extra die roll to range is good, and then the extra die for combat's not bad, so if he needs the extra melee, he can always use that as well. Alright, then our last Plague Survivor. We're only getting 5 in this pack. The other 2 packs each have 6 each. And these guys have a little bit bigger models. We have McIntyre, who gets search 2 cards. So while he's searching, he gets to do 2 cards. Very helpful with their innate ability to search anywhere. Plus 1 free move action and enhanced senses. Enhanced senses let him see 1 extra farther into zones and ignore dark zones. So it gives him a little bit better range on stuff. And then 1 free combat action, plus 1 max range and remote control all. So remote control all lets him control the bots or the sentry guns without having to be next to them, which is to be very helpful. The only guy in this team that has it, so if you are only playing with these guys, and maybe one other if you're having a 6-player, you might not have anyone else to control robots. So this could be very helpful in that sense. Max range is really cool because it ups all his range on all his ranged weapons. Yeah, so if you're always one that like shoots 3 spaces, now you can shoot 4 spaces. Plus, you can shoot through the dark. So that could be very helpful for that. Alright, then let's take a look at his miniature. It's got a big giant bladed gun. Serrated on the bottom. So looks like he almost has like a flamethrower built in. This is what it really looks like. I want to just see the back of his card quick. Yeah, so there's some sort of canister on his gun. I wonder if that's just to be fuel, like because it really looks like old school flamethrower that have like the mask on so they can breathe while they're shooting out all the flames. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Alright, so that's our plague survivors. Alright, so now we're gonna jump into. Alright, so if we had the plague survivors, which were a bunch of adults that learned how to survive, why not have some orphans, who are a bunch of kids that figure out how to survive. Kids are very resilient like that. It would make sense. So we're gonna get a bunch of them. So they're also gonna have special rules, and they're all civilians. It says Orphan Gang members start with the Unstoppable as an additional skill at blue level for free. So they get an additional skill right off the bat. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump into these guys. So we're going to start with Baby. So what does Unstoppable do? Since they all have it. Survivor does not spend extra actions when performing move actions out of a zone containing Xenos. Entering a zone containing Xenos still ends a Survivor's move. So what this means is that if they ever get swamped, they're allowed to move out for just their regular action move, so they can just, essentially, they're small. The idea, I guess, should be that they're small enough that they could slip by Xenos a little bit quicker. I mean, they could still potentially get hit if they stop in them areas, but they should be able to, like, sneak around them a little bit easier. So that's kind of a neat extra ability just to give everybody. I don't know if it's as good as the plagues, be able to search everywhere, but it definitely does make for a neat effect. Although Baby here does start with search for extra 2 cards, which is very helpful. They also have this like orange and white armor, which is really neat. And I don't know where they got all this from, but that's kind of cool. Like they have like this specialized armor, like they apparently colonized it somewhere. So in her orange, she has 1 free ranged action and remote control all. She actually can control bots fairly early on, and she also gets the extra range if she needs it. And then in her red, 1 free combat action, 1 free machine action, or 1 free move action. So yeah, do you need her to move around, do you need her to attack, or do you want her to keep doing stuff with robots? Yeah, some pretty interesting stuff. Now, being a Kickstarter, some of these characters might represent or be homages to people from movies and stuff. I don't really have any idea who they would be, so I'm not going to try and speculate, but there's a possibility. She has like weird rocket things on her shoulders, her back, little wings. That kind of goes towards her like movement ability. Sorry, this doesn't want to focus very well. Let me see if I can move these closer. A little bit better. Alright. Up next, we have Klops. And you can see they all have, like, specialized names, like Baby, and he's Klops because he has 1 eye. Rather than being, like, regular, like the other guys' names are, like, Bragley and Stan, or stuff like that, lots of them have. So, Klops here gets 1 free search action. So yeah, like Baby had +2, so when she did search, she got 2 cards, where he gets 1 free action. So he can automatically search once for free, so he could potentially It doesn't mean he gets to search twice. He just gets one action he can spend specifically for that. So there is the difference between that. He's not going to get 2 search actions every turn. Still one, but one it costs 100% free to do, which is nice. And then orange have 1 guy for range and remote control all. That's a second character that can remote control all robots. So that's kind of helpful. These guys are co-opting robot parts, it seems. And then +1 guy for combat, +1 dice roll for range, and boring leader. Boring leader is a fun ability. Kind of sucks once in the red. It takes a while to get, but during a survivor's turn, the survivor may give 1 free action to another survivor to use as they please. This action is used immediately, then the boring leader resumes their turn. So yeah, help everyone else by giving them direction on what to be doing. Let's see, look at the miniature there. Yeah, so nothing like there. Like has a bunch of range stuff on there with the extra dice roll to range, 1 guy to range. But it also kind of just seems like, yeah, they're gonna be kind of like, I'm gonna stick back, use my search action to find items for everybody, and then I'll remote control the robots to help protect us, and do some of that stuff. Alright, then we have Ink. So this is a kid that has tattoos everywhere. He's all inked up. He has the bear symbol for their team tattooed on his hand. Some ski goggles. So he has 0G run to start off with, which survivor can use the skill once during each of their turns. Spend 1 action, they move 2 zones, ignoring everything in the intervening zones except airlocks, walls, and closed doors. So they can't move through things that they wouldn't normally be able to not move through. Movement related skills, like +1 per zone or unstoppable, are ignored, but movement penalties have Xeno in their starting area. So this is a little interesting because he does have unstoppable, which will let him move through zombies, but he doesn't have, but it doesn't work with 0G run. So what 0G run means is if he's on an empty space, he could move, he move 2 forward. If in between those 2 spaces are a group of Xenos, he can essentially just jump around them for 1 action. Versus if he was just using his unstoppable even, he'd still have to spend 2 because you have to use 1 to move on that space and then 1 to move past it. So it lets him just kind of jump around guys, and then if he does happen to land on a spot, he can use unstoppable to move out of those zones. He just can't be in a zone with them and then use 0 run to run away from them. It's just kind of an interesting combo. It would work even better if he did both, so he could just be bouncing around. But it's what it is. He has, in orange, 1 guy for range or +1 die roll for melee. So kind of where you need him to be. And then red, 1 free combat action, charge, and remote control all. So far it's all 3 of our characters do have the ability to do remote control all. This guy just seems like he's all about just getting around the board, wherever he needs to kind of be. Although he doesn't have really any extra specialties. But there he is. His backwards baseball cap, his little jetpack thing. He should probably kind of go with the movement thing. Alright, up next, we have this Zoom Gang. Well, look at this, we have the Wizard. So here it says he's got a big old giant helmet on. And a Letterman jacket, as we'll see when we get to the picture. Alright, so he has remote control bot right off the bat. So, yeah, you can just control the bot, have him move around and do stuff for him, which is very helpful. Get him in the way, help block stuff or take out guys before them. Then when he gets to orange, he gets remote control sentry gun and 0G run. So that means we have all the characters so far that can control all the bots. It's just so far his though you have to select one or the other. Or you can select both, but you have to, it takes an extra point to do it. But that's alright. And then in orange, he has 1 free combat, 1 free move, or +1 die roll for combat. So his thing's all basically just about controlling the robots, having them do stuff for him. So now there's the thing though, is if you have him out, you could probably just let him control the robots. Maybe give one other character that, but then you wouldn't have to give all your characters that, because if you give the robots too many actions, they'll keep drawing attention to the Xenos, and if the Xenos destroy them, you're out of luck. And then you have a bunch of useless abilities because you don't have bots anymore. So you have to use them guys very strategically. Otherwise, once you hit those red, it's kind of what you need him to be doing. I did wish he had +1 free machine action at the bottom. It would have kind of made him having separate remote controls a little bit better. Just because in that way he would have had reason like why he would have had 2 separate things. But that's what it is. Alright, then up next we actually have a pair. So they do play separately, but I'm going to put them together because they go together. So we have Genie here, and in the back you can see a big hulking guy, and that's Goliath. You can see Genie right there. So we'll look at Genie's first. She has Brothers in Arms +1 die for range. So BIA is a great ability. So what it does is anytime she's in the same zone as another survivor, her and any other survivor in that zone gain this ability. So long as she's standing with somebody else, both players will have +1 die for range. There's a lot of ranged characters in this set, so as long as you kind of keep your team together, everyone has the benefit of that extra range. The downside, of course, is that if she's by herself, she loses his ability as well. Then she has 1 free ranged action or remote control all, so everyone's getting to control robots. Plus extra ranged attack works with her Brothers in Arms. And then in red, +1 die for range, +1 dice roll for range, and hit and run. So yeah, where do you need her? Do you need the extra damage? Do you need the extra accuracy? Or are you good on both of them and you'd rather just take something out and be able to move? Definitely cool there. Then her partner here, who's Goliath, which again, they can be played separately, so you can play one without the other. Doesn't matter. He does start, even though he's quoted as a civilian, he does start with 4 health or armor. So even more than a regular soldier. But he has +1 die roll for melee. So he's going to be a big old melee character, makes sense. In orange, he has 1 free melee action and super strength. Super strength says consider the damage value of melee weapons by the survivor to be 3. So that will let him basically take out any abomination with 1 hit. Very powerful. Or if you really actually need the extra free melee action, that might be better. You're not fighting anything that's super powerful. You're fighting just a bunch of workers or 1 damage things. You don't really need the super strength, because it doesn't add additional damage. It's the number of hits. So if you have a weapon that normally hit for 1 damage, it would now hit for 3. But if you only rolled 1 hit out of it, it's still only going to do 3 damage. You're not going to be able to spread that 3 around. And then we have +1 die for combat, +1 free combat action, or charge. Charge will let him getting close. The combat will give him, do you need the extra die or that? Maybe if you took the free melee action, the free combat die might be helpful. If you took super strength, charge might be useful. Good combination and pairing. So it's kind of interesting because she's a ranged character and he's a melee character. So you might be like, well, that kind of sucks because you want to separate them. But if you look at it in the fact that you use him as a defensive tank with the extra armor and stuff, so if guys do get too close, he can just step in and try and annihilate anything that's in the way. He's also the only guy in this team that does not have the ability to control robots. So it looks like he's basically a big, giant human that has been is being mind controlled or pacified-ish, maybe, by the helmet. But there's her. She has some little guns. He's got some full armor on as well. But those are our 6 orphans. I was trying to see if it said in the story thing where they got their weapons, but it doesn't really. Born by the abandoned survivors of that incident. Yeah, scamming new members, losing members. Interesting. Alright, that'd be kind of a cool, a little bit different idea there. Alright, so we're going to head into Kabuki Gang next. Alright, our last group is the Kabuki Gang. So these are all like Kabuki performance troupe. With a troupe with an E. So they have, during setup, every Kabuki Gang member gets a free equipment card. Draw their equipment from the pile. Draw in player turn order. Only equipment is kept. Other cards like mold, spawn, or pit spawns are ignored and shuffle back in the equipment pile afterwards. So, yeah, where the plague survivors got the additional searching anywhere, and the orphans got their unstoppable ability, and the Darksider invaders each got a secondary weapon. These guys each get a secondary extra equipment, so they might not necessarily get a second. Like, they're kind of like the Darksider, or the soldiers for the Darksider invaders, or, Black Ops, where they will get an additional equipment, but it might not necessarily be a secondary weapon that they need. It could be something better. They could get an MRE to start with. They could get, a canister. They could get, they might be using a sword to begin with. They could get an additional sword. They could get 2 guns. Yes, it's kind of, they come equipped, but they come equipped a little bit differently. Alright, so we're going to start with, and I'm going to apologize right now if I butcher any of these names. So this guy is actually a soldier, and he has the Kabuki symbol gang there. Now, although he is listed as a soldier, he still only has 2 health, or armor. So he's one of the rare instances of that. Because he's still, I think he's just considered to be a soldier because he's been trained. So he has a little bit better abilities. So he started with the Brothers in Arms Sniper. So that's crazy. He gives everybody the ability to be sniper, so everyone can just shoot at a distance as long as they're in the same zone. So you get him and like 1 or 2 other ranged characters next to each other, and they can pick off these smaller guys as they need to, and then spend bigger charged abilities like afterwards if they have to. And then there's +1 die for combat, or +1 free ranged action. Yeah, extra shooting with a sniper, or just an extra die might help you shoot a little bit harder. And then 1 free combat action, Brothers in Arms 1 free combat action, or full auto. So it's kind of neat that he gets the option. He's by himself, he can just take the free combat action. If he's running around with other people, do the Brothers in Arms, everyone gets free combos, combat actions, or he has full auto. It says when resolving a ranged attack, survivor may substitute the number of dice of the ranged weapons the number of Xenos standing in the area. So much like we saw Predator, this is the ranged version of that. Roll 4 dice for 4 Xenos versus 2 dice that are on the weapon. These guys are a little bit more overpowered, at least this guy is, but that's perfectly fine, and that's one thing I love about expansions. You might be like, yeah, these guys are maybe a little bit more overpowered versus the base game characters. Great, the base game are going to get you introduced to the game. These guys, you can come in and you can wreck shop. Play on harder difficulties, do some of that fun stuff. Alright, so Yomo Shichi. Yes, these guys are definitely cool looking as well. Got like the dragon type masks on. don't know how on earth you would paint that pattern on his outfit, but good luck to whoever has done it, because I'm sure there has been people that have. So we have the other soldier of the group. Everyone else is civilians. We have Naosuke, who has Lifesaver right off the bat. Which I don't even think I've seen this in any of the other sets. Survivor can use a skill once during each of their turns for free. Select a zone containing at least one Xeno and one Survivor at a range of 1 from your Survivor. Both zones need to share a clear line of path and sight. Choose the 2 survivors in the selected zone to be dragged to your zone without any penalty. This is not a move. Survivor may decline the rescue and stay selected if their controller chooses. So what that's saying is, as long as you're one space away from any survivor that has a Xeno in there, you can pull them to your space. And you can pull multiple guys as well. So as long as this guy stays back a little bit, you can pull guys out of the fire. But it's interesting that the other player can decline. Now, I only find that interesting as a thing because you'd assume that, like, hey, it's my turn. Like, hey, mind if I pull you out? And they're going to be like, nope, go ahead, pull me out. You know, like, yeah, we need to pull me out. Like, you think you work together as a team if you're talking. You know, so that way, like, because why would you opt to spend an action point, your valuable action points, to use the ability, and then the person's like, nope, and then you've wasted it. The only reason I could possibly see that is any weird scenario would be is if you're playing a a giant multiplayer game, maybe like a 12-player game, and you have like 2 different teams, and it's like my team versus your team, and you know you're trying to like maybe compete for objectives and do stuff like that. Then you could always opt to be like, hey, I can't ask or talk to the other teammates. So you could opt like, hey, that guy's dying, let me save him, because I'd rather have him not die, you know, because that way I have someone else to help kill things and help maybe save me. And that could be like, nah, I'm good. You know, weird fringe scenario, but anywho, he has +1 guy for combat, and Brothers and I +1 guy for combat. So again, by himself, or if he's with somebody else, he can be more powerful, because he gives them that ability as well. And then as red, he has 1 free combat action, 1 free move action, or Brothers in Arms, 1 free combat action. So if you stuck him next to the last guy, and you got him all the way to red, they could have, you know, 2 free combat actions, plus sniper and an extra guy for combat each. So you each give them an extra 2 additional abilities, which could make these guys a very good, like, staying in the back, doing some stuff, attack. Then even if you had a melee character that just kind of sat out in front of them, you know, he could use his lifesaver to pull him back if he needed to. So, very interesting combination there. Alright, our third Kabuki. We'll look at his miniature as long as he's up there. Takasetsu, I believe. We'll look at the name so people can correct me. He's got the big red, like, long flowing hair. Alright, so there is Takuetsu. So now we're back down to civilians. So that's the thing to remember. The other 2 guys were soldiers, so they can only search the security rooms. Here we have 1 free machine action. Right off the bat, he can get next to a machine. He can do use it multiple times. 1 free ranged action, or Brothers in Arm remote control all. So yeah, you keep these guys together. Everyone can use them machines as they need. That could be super helpful. 1 free combat action, 1 free move action, or camouflage. So this guy's going to be able to get around and control robots. It's kind of his little thing. But definitely not bad at all. Yeah, fairly simple. I don't have too much more to say about his. Yeah, camouflage, move around. Use the remote control. Now, camouflage would work good with the free machine action if you take like the brothers in arm remote control, or you're not next to someone, because you could sneak by, use like the sentry gun or use that, and then as long as there's nothing in sight, you could then hide and then move away from them if you needed to. So that's cool. Alright, our third one, we have Emong. So Emong is a boring leader, which will let him give extra actions. With all these extra brothers in arms, that could be very, very powerful. Speaking of that, in his orange ship, brothers in arms, 1 free ranged action. And then he also has hit and run. Combining like the extra free ranged action with the extra sniper action, just letting everyone just shoot wherever they want, do extra actions to do it, these guys could definitely decimate areas. As long as they stick together. The problem is, again, you give too many of these brothers in arms and you have to separate for some reason. Because although sticking together and be able to take out a group is great, but if you're only bringing out like 3 Xenos and 1 guy can take them out, or two of your 6 guys are able to take them out, then the other guys are supposed to do what for their actions? Just sit around and wait so you guys stick as a group. The thing is, if you do that too slowly, the spawn zones are going to build up on other parts of the map. So there could be a bad side to just everyone sticking together one group. It might almost be better to figure out the best way to split 3 one way, 3 the other way type of idea. But then he has in Reg 1 free combat, Bloodlust combat, and Reaper range. So that Reaper range would help him take out more guys. Bloodlust combat lets you... I just want to reread that one quick. To use this skill once per each of their turns, survivor spends 1 action, move up to 2 zones to a zone containing at least 1 Xeno. They may gain 1 free action of a specified type. Normal movement rules apply. So just for combat, but it's interesting because if they gain the ranged attack, they have to, unless they have a ranged weapon that shoots into their zone, has a 0 range, which there's not many that do, he would have to shoot into a different zone. But that could even help him get closer, shoot to a different zone, let his teammates use their sniper abilities to take out the guys around him. Such a very good possibility as well. Alright, we'll get a look at his up here. Got the flared out mask. Plus a sword inside his hood, like the coat arms hanging off. It's definitely very like a Japanese thing. Alright. Our 5th character, Saman. As long as we're right here, we'll just look at him. Yeah, so he's got a big old, like, gun there. So you guys are all very ranged characters. You can't really see it, but he's got kind of like a teeth mask on. We'll look in the picture. Alright, yeah, that scary teeth mask. So he starts off with Brothers in Arms, search 2 cards. So right off the bat, he can help. Everyone can help. If they're, first turn or 2, couple of turns, still early on, you guys can, hey, we stopped here, we have an extra action, let's try and find some better equipment, upgrade our weapons. So they can easily get into hard modes very, very fast by just finding things and be able to kill stuff a lot quicker. Plus 1 die roll per range or remote control bot. Remote control of the bot's always nice because they can move that guy around to help you out, draw attention. And then 1 free range action, Brothers in Arms, 1 free combat action, and Point Blank. Point Blank, again, lets you use your ranged weapons at melee range. And another Brothers in Arms combat action. So that's potentially, if you have all these 6 guys for some reason all stay in the same tile, you could have 3 extra combat actions when you get to Reg. So even if you don't pick any other combat action or any other actions in the rest of the game, they would have 5 extra if you had all 3 of them, that would give you your 3 basic plus your 1 yellow, so that's 4, and then you get 3 more, so 5, 6, 7 actions every turn with every character. but 3 of them have to be combat. That's still incredible. Every 6 characters, I'll shoot 3 extra times each turn. You do some decent damage with that. Alright, now let's hop into our last one. It's the only for sure lady of the group. I don't know, some of these guys have big coats on, so they could have been women. This is the only one we know for sure is we have Awa. I'm not for sure on that one. So right here, Brothers in Arms Point Blank. This lets you use all of your ranged attacks in the same zone as melee weapons. So this, and you can still choose your target and everything. So this works really well with that other guy when we said he had the Bloodlust. If you had these 2 together, then he could use that Bloodlust with any ranged weapon up close. Orange, 1 free ranged action, plus Bloodlust melee. She has it as well. But again, you need to stick with someone to keep that point blank. 1 free combat action, plus 1 die roll for melee, and Brothers in Arms, 1 free melee action. So really the only melee character in the group. But that's not bad. Keep her with everybody else. They're all using their guns to do ranged attacks. She can do some ranged attacks as well then, using the extra combat actions. But if you get up to do melee, she can help everybody else do those as well. So this is definitely a fun group of characters. Almost more so than the other teams. Like, the other teams all seem to have fun abilities. These guys really seem like they're going to work better if you keep them all together. All of the other gangs, the other 2 gangs, as well as the 2 teams for the green squad and black squad, don't generally seem to, like, benefit sticking together. Like, I'm sure their abilities kind of work together and complement to an extent. But these guys having all these Brothers in Arms, if you keep them all together, again, even if you split them off into pairs of 3 and 3, or even 2, 2 and 2, they're all going to be a lot more powerful. But then again, put in with some other people as well, mixing and matching them with the other survivors from the other things could be very fun as well. So that's all we have for the gangs. My overall thoughts on all 3 of these is there. You want extra groups of survivors, really cool. Especially if you want more civilians, because again, the only way other than the Kickstarter civilian pack would have been to get, which is a lot more expensive than these guys, to get civilians would be to buy these. Otherwise, you only have the initial 6 from the base game. Just get you some of those, get you a little bit different things. The only other 2 things I would have thought would have been kind of neat with these gangs and groups instead would have been, 1, I would have liked extra equipment, like 1 or 2 extra regular equipment, like honestly extra prototype equipment would have been cool. Anytime you can add me more of them just to make them more worthwhile to get into would have been fun. But even just like 1 extra equipment card in each box would have been kind of neat. I get the logistics of then having to print off a separate card to make sure 1 extra tiny card gets put in there is probably not worth it. They probably want to make sure they put a stack in there so they don't get lost. But that would have been kind of cool. The other thing would have been neat, they would have had a way to like add people to these gangs. So it's like, hey, here's a gang rule, and now I could play a card that said everyone on my team is now part of this gang. So I could add swapping other people and they could use the same type of rules. That would have been kind of a neat idea as well. Again, probably would have broke some characters, but that's always the fun of owning your own games. Alright, so that's what we got for Zombicide Invader gangs. Check out the, hope you guys like the 3 packs. See you guys later. Bye.